Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, one and all. Thanks for joining us in the episode number 32 of BRM Brown Bag. I'm your host, Suresh GP, and we are continuing our conversation on BRM in healthcare with Mr. Mohammed Muslim. If you had not looked at episode number 31, I would strongly recommend you to look at that episode and then watch this, because there's a lot of conversations that we are doing that will help us to understand this better. So one of the things that we were continuing, before I continue on that, Mohammed Muslim, give me a very important view about relationship in Middle East. I had the good fortune of being in Riyadh a few weeks before. I had a phenomenal experience with my business partners and colleagues. And I think there is something very unique about this region, about relationship, whether it is personal or professional. You've been in this particular thing and you're spearheading the BRM community in Middle East. So give us a view of how is relationship considered when it comes to Middle East region and some of those history of what we can all understand about this great region.
Historically, very much right, Suresh. Historically, and also is in present, relationship is everything in business.
Right.
In Middle East, among the Arab communities, it is the prime important.
Right.
What the Arabs say, as you can say a humor, is Wasta fawq al Khanun. Wasta is, your network or your relationship,
Right.
which is above the law. So
Very
you can
nice.
imagine that something above the law they consider. So what it is meant in Middle East. So things get done very easily through relationships in Middle East. So that's where I think where we have come with a standardized form of, business relationship management. So it is very, very relevant. And if it is taken in each of these industries within Middle East, they will really, be open to BRMs in Middle
Awesome.
East.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So in terms of you, in the last episode, when we talked about the last one was about communication skills of how we communicate to the business partner. So we'll start with that in this episode. How crucial are communication and collaboration skills for BRMs? Because I think particularly there are so many things can be lost in translation. The left hand doesn't know what the right hand does. There's so many people in the part. And you were talking about working with about 35,000 people as an organization. That is massive. So what do you think are some of the critical components from communication and collaboration's perspective?
Yeah, definitely. Communication and collaboration is what is, other than knowing your stakeholders, and then when you're knowing them, you start need to communicating to get their jobs done, your jobs done. So communication is, again, I wouldn't say secondary, but as good as relationship building tool for a BRM.
Right.
So communication is of prime importance. And how do you communicate? What is your personality? Communicating with the stakeholders. You have various stakeholders like clinicians in healthcare, in nurses, you have physiotherapists, you have dentists, you have variety. It's not like any other industry that they are very specific, or the job role, so you understand them. You have to be, everyone has their own egos. They are knowledgeable about their areas. They're experts in their areas. So you need, when you are speaking to them, you need to know who they are, what are they doing, what are the clinical workflows within them before even getting the requirements done. So once this is done, then comes the collaboration part. And collaboration is so important because for delivering healthcare, it's not one person. It used to be one person in those, age-old times when you go to a family physician, he does everything for you.
Right.
But now when you come to hospitals, especially, you have a team which is working. So team would be a nurse assistant, a physician, an assistant for him, a consultant, a surgeon. So all this get together to get your case read and, a treatment plan for the patient.
Right.
So you need to build a collaboration, a team for even when a need comes. If a need comes from one of the physicians, you need to involve who work with him,
Right.
because just a need comes, a requirement comes, that is not enough. Who are associated with that physician, you need to really even talk to them,
Correct.
get the requirements built from them, because they will be speaking from different perspectives, and then complete solutions can be given to them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
In terms of leadership skills, sometimes you don't have authority. You still have to influence a lot of people. So what kind of leadership skills of BRMs influence organization healthcare settings? And this is important because a lot of times leadership skills will make things happen, right? Someone who could take initiatives. I sometimes say that you need to be entrepreneurial something, because it's not given to you in a
Correct.
platter. You need to take
Yeah.
charge. So what kind of leadership skills that you think will influence the organizational organizational change within the
Yeah.
healthcare settings?
Yeah, definitely. So, everyone can be a manager, but everyone cannot be a leader, as
True.
the saying goes.
Right.
So leadership qualities is the one which really is required for a BRM, because it is, again, to reiterate, it is more of giving nature,
Correct.
and also setting examples, and also building that trust and confidence with the stakeholders, which each of the stakeholders within, the business partner community, and also in the service provider, because you are going to be getting a requirement, a need, and getting it solved by a service provider. So
Right.
you need to have that leadership quality to communicate this side, that side, and have that trust in you. And
Correct.
if you don't have that negotiation skills, communication skills, which are very of prime, importance to a leader, then this leader is something who sets an example. So that is where you have to focus yourself and not just manage things.
Sure.
I need to get this thing done, but how are you going to get done? What is the personality? Or, leaders are not born again, with some exceptions, I guess, like you. But, jokes apart, it is again a journey, you have to build, because once you have this role and you're not looked upon as a leader,
Right.
within, you don't take those initiatives, which, sets you an example of a leader. People, after, a few of the requests, few of the needs they discuss with you, it will fade out. They will either request for a replacement, because there is something disconnect.
Correct.
You just manage things and deliver it. That's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things that I have observed, Mohammed Muslim, is that when you talk about leadership, it's also about full accountability, right? If everything goes well,
Yeah.
then you can pat on your back and say that I did a good job. But when things don't work as
Right.
planned, and you get into a zone of failure, or area where it did not deliver the business results,
Right.
do you own that outcome as a BRM? It's going to be a strong character of how leadership looks like, right? Leadership is something that we take the onus, we
Correct.
apologize for what did not go well, and
Correct.
and take charge and say that, yeah, we goofed it up or it didn't go, without putting the blame on others, including the service provider organization. Because to be fair, sometimes service providers don't get a good name with the business partners.
Correct.
They still perceive them to be an order taker. So it's our responsibility as a leadership to elevate the value of the service provider in the right sense. But also, when some things don't go well, take it together, because BRM is not standalone. BRM is along with the service provider organization. So we do it together, we win together, or we fall together. So I think that's also an area that I think most of the people will have to take that bullet, right? And say that it's okay that we fail, but we want to work as a team to do it. So sometimes I think leadership skills is tough. You need to let down your ego, even though it is not your problem. You should
Correct.
step back and say that, hey, you know what? I am focusing on the larger interest of the outcome for my business partner.
Correct.
So I might not be always right or did not make the things, but that's also something. Do you also
Yeah.
see that as a leadership skill?
Definitely, there are competing demands within the service providers on how much duration they would take to, satisfy or solve an issue, or get back with a, request.
Right.
So it's again, that conflict management. Definitely, as you said, that if you are not taking the onus on yourself, the accountability on yourself, then you're not a leader. You're not a
Right.
true leader. You
Right.
might break some point of time, but you need to put your, get your act together and behave like a leader, because you don't have a choice,
Correct.
being a BRM or don't be a BRM,
Correct. Correct.
So if you're willing to take that onus that, yes, if something goes wrong, you need to admit it to either of the parties or the business partners and find a way. You can't just leave it like that and say that, oh, there's a mistake done. I'm a human, and I'm so this has happened. So you need to get a solution,
Right.
an effective solution, so that both the parties, from wherever the conflict has arisen, they are satisfied at the end of the day. So there's no choice that you're going to leave it where it is. Yeah, I think that is a
Absolutely.
responsibility of a leader.
So very interesting part about conflicts. So how do you handle conflicts between business partners and service providers? Because sometimes the ego goes pretty high. I tell people that when your emotions go high, your intellect goes down. So in those cases, you're sandwiched, right? You need to serve the business partner, but you also need to have the help of your service provider to serve them. So how do you handle those conflicts? And what are some of those tips to do that?
Yeah, that does happen. Everything can't go hunky-dory all the time.
Right.
There are situations where we got into, where we have accepted what we can do as an IT provider, but we're not able to deliver during the COVID, especially during the COVID times,
Right.
because there were competing demands, coming from this huge organization. The more focus was on the COVID patients,
Right.
then getting new technologies, and also whatever we have to. So there were also demands of, moving for example, the ventilators around the facilities, various hospitals, various medical devices to and fro different facilities. They're exchanging where there is more demand. So there were a lot of conflicts. But then what you need to do is that's where, how do you deal with that conflict? Is that you take the ownership, and because you have that relationship with the service providers, you can partially fulfill a request, so that you at least show that something you are, genuinely trying to do for them. So if that trust is built, I think this conflict management situation will really boil down to, yeah. So I would, I get into situations, and then you need to step back and look at what is the best approach again,
Putting yourself, like being empathetic, putting yourself into both the
in
shoes.
the shoes, yeah.
Right. And
Yeah,
then
that's
finding it out
so,
what to do that
yeah,
part.
yeah. And again, at the end of it, you're delivering, everyone is trying to give the best patient care,
Correct.
at any given time. So you need to, do that.
Absolutely. So in terms of continuous improvement, we always, if you look at, I talk about Lean Six Sigma. If you look at Kaizen, you'd look about total quality management. One of the most important part across all industries is continuous improvement, right? So we talk about continuous service improvement. We are talking about continuous improvement. So what are some of the effective methods for continuous improvement, particularly in the role of a BRM in healthcare? What kind of methods have you seen works well for improving patient care, the user experience, the technology adoption? What kind of things have you seen that BRMs can leverage from a method perspective?
I think what my journey has been, that continuous improvement is, again, coming to BRM, it's more about relationships. You are continuously in touch with your business partners, with your service providers. So it starts with, zero, and then you continuously work on your relationship. So that is the first thing you need to continuously work on and improve your relationships with both, your service providers and the business partners. So that is one thing. And again, about continuous improvement is the strategic, engagements you have, with the key people. You need to maintain that. It's not like your job is done or their job is done and it's gone, because this is going to continuously come. So that's where you need to focus on a continuous basis. Other thing is having matrices, evaluations of and measurements of what you are, getting request in terms of the needs, and also measuring them in terms of technology investment
Right.
and what is really going back. So if that ballpoint figure you can give back, so this is what the technology benefits you're going to get to a particular department, to a particular service. That is where they can make their decision making becomes easier. When you're
Right.
doing your business cases, RFPs, you need to really guide the business partners on this aspects, you
Right.
know, and that is a part of continuously improving also on the business cases, and also providing them the IT requirements when they are having a need. So I feel that you have to be a partner, you are also a partner with the business partner in what they are going to get and
Right.
how they're going to get satisfied, or operational efficiency they'll have, or the benefits they're going to get in terms of their investments. You
Yeah.
need to educate them. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, last couple of questions is basically, you talked about in a healthcare, there are regulatory needs, there are government norms around it. So, how do you navigate compliance and risk management challenges? Right? You cannot say that I was ignorant. Ignorant is no longer a
Correct.
bliss.
No,
You will
not
be
at all.
penalized for something, including the data privacy, data protection part of it.
Of course.
So, how do you navigate that compliance and risk? Because that's a very sensitive topic, particularly in healthcare, and how does it relate to the
Yeah.
BRM part?
I think this is the one of the most important questions you brought, Suresh. So about the data privacy, confidentiality of, their documents within patient records within the hospitals, how are they protected, how are they shared, you know, there are regulations, there are restrictions, there are standards, and particularly in healthcare industry, we have the international standards of Joint Commission from the US,
Hmm.
which most of the hospitals have. So are we following them? So while we are also dealing with our business partners, we need to check with them, what are the requirements from the public health which are to be followed to get this request, approved. Some of the requests have to go to the highest level
Right.
of approval. So definitely, I would say that rules, regulations, laws within the public health and also the broader general domain of public has to be kept into mind, and you are supposed to be aware, and you are also supposed to educate your business partners that this is what is, we need to really follow while we are requesting or we are applying or implementing a solution.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. And I think as you start to look at it, is there's so many moving parts. As I understand these questions around, it's so much that you're juggling between so many different things, and quite an overwhelming one, right? In terms of how do you ensure that you handle your business partner, you handle your service providers, you educate them, you're aware on top of it, you understand the business processes. Quite an experience by itself. My final question would be, what do you think should be the strategy and action to achieve success as a BRM? Because everybody says that, okay, how am I doing? What's my scorecard look like? If
Yeah.
I'm looking at, I'm a BRM, what does it mean, right? Have you made a difference? Have you made an impact? Have you delivered the value? So if you look at and want to measure the success of a BRM in healthcare, what kind of strategies and actions do you think will contribute to make that happen?
Yeah, I think again, I would repeat is that, you really need to reach that strategic partnership with both service providers and business partners.
Right.
The trust factor, the, leadership factor, the, building the confidence between the parties. These are some of the prime important, and also knowledge sharing,
Right.
would be so much, because both the sides, the IT providers do not know about the operational issues of, or the business objectives,
Right.
or what is exactly what business is requiring. So I think that's where again the conflicting situations will come. So you are there as a BRM. To be a successful BRM, you need to have these qualities. Firstly, getting strategically positioned within the
Right.
organization,
Right.
Definitely, communication skills, there's nothing I can speak more about it. I've been keeping on mentioning that how to build that personality, pleasing personality, and everyone cannot do it. You have become BRM, or you've been nominated or selected as a BRM because you have that personality. And if you
Right.
cannot maintain that, it's better to exit. So, and also, are you able to take challenges, day in, day out? That is another thing. Having the healthcare domain within
Sure.
as a BRM in healthcare, that is of again core importance. That if you don't understand the business, what are you really going to deliver? You might deliver to an extent, but you might not be a successful BRM in giving them what they want.
Awesome. Awesome. This has been a fantastic session so far. We've covered a lot of questions around deeper dive into what does it take for a BRM to be successful in healthcare. Some of the things are very fascinating, Mohammed Muslim, because they are so integral part of healthcare. And I'm sure in the last episodes of 31 and 32, our viewers, our practitioners, and the entire single global BRM community would have gained a lot of insights and perspectives on doing that. One final thought in terms of BRM. What's the future of BRM look like for healthcare? Because you've been there, you've seen there, and you're seeing this through. If you had a prediction in the future, how does the BRM look like? What would it look like? Is there a role still relevant? Is it something that will be exciting for more BRMs to join the bandwagon? What do you see? How do you see the BRM role in the future for healthcare?
Correct. Yeah. So the first thing is that BRM is not for everyone.
Correct.
You you are a born BRM, but you get that title much later.
Right. Correct. Correct.
So I feel that way. And then I feel that I've been working towards this journey and finally got a title of a BRM. So I was made to do this job. But having said that, I think the future, I'm always an optimist. So I see a very bright future if the healthcare industry adopts the BRMs within their organizations, because it makes things easier, happier for either side. There is a point of focus where who is a bridge, who's converging two parties and getting things done. So who's going to really not benefit from that?
Right.
Everyone should be happy about that. And the sooner organization does it, the more beneficial, because it is more cost effective at the end of the day, having a BRM, handling a couple of departments, than to have lots of conflicts and wasting yourself resolving on that. So I would really urge the CIOs, the CEOs, look at BRMs, get them employed. If you can even get your existing employees to identify who are the best, who have that personality to get things done as a BRM. And I think this should emerge, this should mushroom all over the world and Middle East, in particularly in healthcare organizations, because at the end of the day, there's you're dealing with patients' lives and you're saving it. So that satisfaction for healthcare BRM will always be there.
Awesome. And I think that's a great way to close the session in terms of the purpose of making an impact and ensuring that you're happy at the end of the day, you made a difference. And I think that's a very important part, which is closer to your heart, and say that, yeah, we made a difference, but it's also about how this is a journey. I love the part that you said that BRMs is not for everyone. And sometimes you have to earn it over a period of time, that you have put in the effort and committed yourself, dedicated to this. And I've been awestruck by the level of commitment of healthcare professionals, particularly during the COVID situation. I saw people were relentlessly focusing on ensuring that they were able to save lives, they were able to go that stuff, and kudos to the whole healthcare industry of how much they are making a difference to people's life. And I tell people that when you're a doctor, when you are a part of it, they just bow your hand. In our culture, we bow your hands and say that you're like a lord, right? Because you made a difference, you made to save the life. It's like a rebirth. So it's a very important part, and it's very emotional sometimes to think about how much healthcare industry is making a difference, and it's also increased longevity of people over the years. And it's very inspiring to see that the BRMs are also emerging to do that. So thank you so much for your valuable time, Mohammed Muslim, to share in both episodes of value. And we hope that this will inspire more people, more employers to deploy BRMs in the healthcare industry. Thank you so much.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much, Suresh. It was a pleasure, really,
Thank you.
sharing this knowledge.
Yeah, I think that's great. And viewers, you listen to the passion in which Mohammed Muslim is talking about BRM in healthcare. So please continue watching these episodes. And if you have any questions on what areas that you want to cover, we would be happy to bring in our next episodes of BRM Brown Bag. Subscribe to our channel, and we look forward to seeing you become better BRMs and impact the entire organization. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Suresh. Take care.